Do you find yourself in a situation where the weight of debt is pressing hard on your shoulders? It's a question many of us have asked ourselves at some point in our lives. Debt, like many elements of personal finance, is a common part of modern living, but that doesn't make it any less daunting. Debt can sneak up on us in many forms. It could be the student loan that helped us acquire our education, the credit card bills that pile up from everyday expenses, or a mortgage that allowed us to buy our dream home. It might even be a personal loan taken out during an emergency. Each form of debt carries its own weight, and managing it can often feel like juggling flaming torches. When debt becomes a constant companion, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. It can feel like you're trapped in a cycle of payments, interest, and penalties. You might even wonder if you're ever going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But remember this, you're not alone in this journey. Countless individuals are in the same boat, trying to stay afloat in the sea of debt. The good news is that debt, while intimidating, is not insurmountable. It's a challenge, yes, but one that can be tackled with the right knowledge and strategies. Understanding debt, its various forms and its implications, is the first step toward gaining control over your financial future. It's about knowing what you owe, to whom, and how it affects your overall financial health. But what do we do once we have a clear picture of our debt situation? How do we navigate the maze of repayment plans, interest rates, and negotiation options? That's where strategic planning and effective debt management come into play. With the right tools and guidance, you can chart a course towards a debt-free future. If you find yourself nodding to these scenarios, stick with us as we delve into understanding the various types of debt and how to navigate debt repayment. With knowledge as our compass, we can navigate the stormy seas of debt and steer towards the calm waters of financial freedom. To effectively manage debt, it is essential to first comprehend the different types of debt that exist. In the world of finance, debt is not a one-size-fits-all concept. There are several types of debt, each with its unique characteristics and implications. The most basic classification is into secured and unsecured debt. Secured debt is any debt backed by an asset, like a car or a house. If you default on a secured loan, the lender can take possession of the asset to recover the loan amount. Mortgages and auto loans are prime examples of secured debt. They're typically associated with lower interest rates because the lender has a form of security, but the risk to you is the potential loss of your asset. On the other hand, unsecured debt is a loan that's not tied to any asset. This type of debt includes credit card debt, student loans, and personal loans. Since lenders can't claim any assets if you default, they charge higher interest rates to compensate for the increased risk. Next, we have revolving debt and installment debt. Revolving debt is a line of credit that the borrower can repeatedly use and pay back without having a fixed number of payments. Credit cards are a typical example of revolving debt. You have a credit limit, and as long as you stay within it, you can borrow and repay as often as you like. Installment debt, in contrast, is a loan with a fixed number of payments, known as installments. Think car loans, student loans, or mortgages. You borrow a lump sum of money up front, and then repay it over time in equal payments until the loan is completely paid off. Each type of debt carries its own set of risks and rewards. Being able to identify which type of debt you've incurred can help you devise a plan to manage and ultimately eliminate it. Understanding the type of debt you have is the first step towards effective debt management. Now that we've identified the types of debt, the next step is to strategize on how to pay them off. One popular method for paying off debt is the snowball method. This strategy focuses on paying off the smallest debts first while making minimum payments on larger ones. Once the smallest debt is paid off, you then move on to the next smallest and so forth. This method is particularly effective for those who are motivated by quick wins. It's like building a snowball, starting small and gradually growing larger as you roll it along. On the other hand, the avalanche method concentrates on paying off the debt with the highest interest rate first. Once that's paid off, you move on to the debt with the next highest interest rate. This strategy can save you money in the long run, as it minimizes the amount of interest you'll pay over time. Imagine an avalanche, starting at the peak and quickly gaining momentum as it rushes down the mountain. Now, if you're feeling overwhelmed by multiple debts, debt consolidation might be an option. This strategy involves combining all your debts into one larger debt, ideally with a lower interest rate. This can simplify your payments and make managing your debt easier. Think of it like merging several small streams into one larger river. It's important to note, however, that this method requires discipline to avoid accumulating new debt. So, how do you choose the right strategy? Well, it depends on your unique financial situation and personal preferences. If you're someone who gets a boost of motivation from quick wins, the snowball method might be best for you. If, however, you're more concerned with minimizing the amount of interest you'll pay over time, the avalanche method could be a better fit. And if you're juggling multiple debts and finding it hard to keep track, debt consolidation could be worth considering. But remember, this strategy requires a high level of discipline to prevent falling back into the debt trap. It's also important to remember that these strategies are not mutually exclusive. You can combine them in a way that works best for you. For instance, you could use the snowball method to pay off smaller debts and gain some momentum, then switch to the avalanche method for larger debts with higher interest rates. Also, don't forget to factor in your budget and lifestyle. The best debt repayment plan is the one you can stick to. It might involve making some adjustments to your spending habits, but the financial freedom you'll gain is well worth the effort. Remember, the right strategy for you depends on your unique financial situation and personal preferences. Interest rates can greatly impact your debt, and understanding this can be a game changer in your debt management journey. But what exactly are interest rates? In simple terms, an interest rate is a percentage of the principal or the original amount of debt that you're required to pay back in addition to the principal itself. Now, let's delve into how exactly interest rates affect your overall debt. Imagine you've taken out a loan of $1,000 at an annual interest rate of 10%. At the end of the first year, you'll owe an extra $100. That's 10% of the original $1,000. This brings your total debt to $1,100. But what happens if you don't pay off that debt after the first year? This is where we introduce the concept of compound interest. Compound interest means that the interest you owe also earns interest. So in the second year of your loan, you would not only owe interest on the original $1,000, but also on the extra $100 of interest from the first year. That means your debt at the end of the second year would be $1,210, not just $1,200. This is why it's so important to understand the impact of interest rates on your debt. The higher the interest rate and the longer the term of your debt, the more you will end up owing. It's not just about paying back what you borrowed, but also the accumulated interest. In conclusion, understanding how interest rates and compound interest affect your debt can be a powerful tool in managing and reducing your overall debt. By being aware of the interest rates attached to your debts, you can prioritize which debts to pay off first, potentially saving you money in the long run. Being aware of the interest rates attached to your debts can help you prioritize your repayments and potentially save you money in the long run. So to wrap up what we've discussed today, we've journeyed through the labyrinth of debt, understanding its different forms. We've seen how personal loans, credit card debt, and mortgages, among others, each have their unique characteristics and impacts on our financial health. We've also explored various strategies for paying off debt. Whether it's the snowball method, where we start by tackling the smallest debts first, or the avalanche method, where we focus on the debts with the highest interest rates, each strategy has its pros and cons. Furthermore, we've dived into the world of interest rates, uncovering the profound impact they can have on our debt. We've seen how lower interest rates can make debt more manageable, while higher rates can compound our financial challenges. With this knowledge, you are now better equipped to tackle your debt head-on and work towards a debt-free future.